you so much for this warm introduction. So my name is Safio Jocelyn. I am she said, I am a nurse. I mean, I work in academia now. I am going to be a PhD student in nursing. But before I came to United States, I was a medical doctor in Haiti. So thanks to Mabel, I don't know where she went. She's my student over there. Um, so I don't know, for some reason, she just like asked me to come tonight and present at the Ugandan convention. And I was like, okay, sure, no problem, I'll do it. So my friends, when I told them that I was gonna be presenting today, and they said, well, you're not Ugandan. And I'm like, no, by adoption I am. Because my students from Uganda, they just make me feel welcome. So now, like when I came in, I looked at those beautiful people. I couldn't help but just like feel at home right away. All right, so go back, please. Go back 2 slides. Yes, thank you. So after this introduction, so I told you who I am, and I am raising you with traditional Haitian dress. So we've been through a lot. So when Mabel asked me to present about no help, but what can I say to kind of reach the Ugandan population, right? So I said, well, I do not know that population. I have to go to YouTube, listen to some Bobi Wine music and songs. I didn't understand what they were saying, but yet I was inspired. I don't know why. So I wanted to just like kind of speak genuinely from the heart, because I feel like everything that is affecting us in Haiti is also can be translated into Ugandan reality. Am I wrong? Okay, so now we've been through a lot, right? So many of us have lost loved ones, freedom, and safety. How many people, not, it's a rhetorical question, how many people are incarcerated because of, their way of thinking, their thoughts, their political affiliations, right? All these things are very real in our countries, right? So some were imprisoned, like I said, without justice. They never went to see a judge. They never were condemned. They just like been incarcerated for a long time, and no justice. Some saw violence firsthand. So I'm gonna tell you a little story that even my mom doesn't know about. When I was in elementary school, I remember there was a big riot, revolution, or whatever they want to call it. So there was one political party in Haiti. So a lot of people didn't want that political party to be in power. But a lot of, they have opponents and people supporting that party. So one time, my mom asked us to stay in the house. So, but, I was always a curious child. So I went through the window and I looked outside while the riot, rioters were, walking down the street. So what happened is that I saw, I was probably 8 or 10 years old, like not much older. So I saw that man, he had a rope tied around his neck, and they were dragging him, through the streets, and he was screaming his head off. So imagine an 8-year-old girl seeing such a violent picture and seeing that man screaming. So do you think that I was traumatized? Yes, it's traumatizing for any human being to see such a picture, let alone a child, right? So now, trauma is not weakness. It is a wound, and wounds can heal. I want you guys to remember that. I want you to remember that it's not a weakness, because what happened with our population, with our people, our communities, we tend to think that if we show that we have, gone through trauma, if we show that we've been traumatized, that we are going to be perceived as being weak. And that needs to change because trauma is not weakness. Next slide, please. So, on a medical or nursing standpoint, no. Go back one slide, please. Thank you. That's good. So, on a medical or a nursing standpoint, what trauma does to the mind and body? So you get things like sleepless nights, panic, and constantly feeling unsafe. Anger, sadness, or emotional numbness. I remember as the child, I was having nightmares like every night for a long time. And my mom never could understand why I was all of a sudden having those nightmares. But I never told her what I saw as a young girl, right? Until I came here and I was talking to a friend of mine who's a psychologist, and we discussed it. And she said, you're never gonna have a good night of sleep if you don't get over that trauma. So you can imagine, it wasn't me that they were dragging down the street, just the picture, just seeing it. And I carried that with me for years. I hope my mom doesn't watch that video because she will spank me, I guess. I don't know, because she'll be like, oh, I told you not to go and look outside. But body tension, pain, fatigue, trauma lives in the body. Just imagine that your body is a house, right? It's a house, and when somebody just like breaks in your house, after that person leaves, you never feel safe in the house anymore. You always have the doors locked. You always have the light on because you feel unsafe all the time. So that's exactly what trauma does to our body. So we constantly in a survival mode, and that becomes the norm for us, even when we are in peace. I go to the beach all the time because that's my place to just kind of go and relax and let go. However, someone who's traumatized cannot be even at peace in a very in such an environment, right? Next slide, please. Okay, so in our daily lives, how can we describe trauma, all right? How does it show? So we have quick tempers. So for some reason, like, someone is talking to you, and then all of a sudden you're just like, whew, you feel like upset. You struggle with parenting. You're always yelling at your children. You're always impatient with your children. Connection, you struggle with joy, with connection. Something good happens to you and you can't even enjoy it. So it feels like, oh my goodness, if I feel happy right now, I know you have the impending sense of doom. You feel like, oh, if I'm so happy right now, tomorrow I'm gonna cry. But no, let me stop you right now. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to feel the moment, to be in the moment, right? So not crying, not laughing, always alert. Some people, they don't cry. They don't laugh either. They always have that straight face. Whether they're sad or happy, you don't know. You will never know because they're always constantly on their guard. So being strong without space for softness. How many of you have been told, even when you either when you were like a child or even in your adulthood, to be strong? Just, go through it. You're not the first person to go through that, and you're probably not gonna be the last. And they tell you, tough it up. How many of you, show of hands, have been told to tough it up? Nobody? Yes. And I will say that in our communities, this is what our parents know. That this is what our parents been told, and they pass it to their children and children after that and their generations. So we pass on the trauma that we had, that we experienced, right? So tough it up. We tell our children that, tough it up. So tonight, I'm here to tell you, we stop here. We stop tonight. If the child comes to you and explain that it feels uncomfortable with a certain uncle, with a certain parent, or something is happening, listen. Open up. Create that environment for that child. Create that environment for that nephew, for that friend, so you can help them go over the trauma so we don't pass it down. Don't tell them to tough it up. Just invite them to open up about it. So instead of saying tough it up, let's say open up. Say it with me. Open up. There you go. Next slide, please. So now, let's take a look at what's going on in our countries. And when I said in our countries, like I said, I am Ugandan by adoption, so our countries. So the double burden, right? The trauma, right? It can be physical trauma, it can be emotional trauma, it can be financial trauma, it can be any kind of trauma. But you have the double burden, which is trauma plus injustice. I know you know what I'm talking about, the injustice in our countries. So when harm comes from those in power, it cuts deeper. And I say that not because I want to be political, or I want to just accuse anybody of anything, but I'm just going to make you aware that, you remember that bully in school? So when you went to school and you had that kid you were terrified of, you couldn't even study, just the thought of going to school and face that person, that child, you were terrified, you felt powerless, right? You couldn't even tell your parents about the child, because you felt that if you say something, they're gonna come back and hurt you even more. You remember that bully? Do we? Yes. So now let's pretend that the government, the system that we have in place to protect us, to protect our rights, is the same system that is abusing us, that is taking advantage of us. So now you feel even more powerless, and it cuts deeper, right? So when you go through something like that, you tend to kind of go back and say to yourself, I am such a failure. But I'm here to tell you, you are not. You place your trust in that person, and the person is choosing to be a bully. So it's not your fault. It's not your fault. They can do better, but they choose not to. So this isn't personal failure. It's survival in broken systems. And I know a thing or two about that, because when I started talking about certain things that were happening in my countries, like let's say some people would just say that they are bragging about, oh, I have that Range Rover or something, and I would stand and say, on the radio, I don't know where you're gonna drive that Range Rover. You have a $150,000 car, yet you have no roads. So how is that intelligent? How is that smart? So now when I started talking like that, my parents, my mom told my dad, she has to go. She needs to leave this country. She's gonna die. And I said, well, this is not my personal failure. It's those people, like, they take for like cowards, and they say that, oh, they cowards, they don't speak up, they don't say anything. But It's just their way of surviving in a broken system. I chose to speak up, and my mom shipped me away. All right. So we are not broken, we are resisting. Okay? Next slide, please. Now, what resilience really means. So, resilience, I want you to understand that being resilient doesn't mean that you have to pretend. I want you to remember that. If nothing tonight, I want you to remember at least this. Resilience isn't pretending to be okay. It's continuing despite the pain. It's getting up. It's laughing again. It's raising children in love. That's resilience. It's feeling your feelings and still moving forward. Allow yourself to feel the pain. Allow yourself to know, I've been traumatized. I need help. I need to move forward. Resilience is power, and it lives in you. Tonight, I'm giving you this gift of resilience. It is power, it is yours, and I give it to you, and I invite you to dig deep and find that resilience. Next slide, please. So now we're talking about all these things, the trauma. So how do we heal, right? So I invite you to have safe conversations, spiritual practices. Some people, they like to go to church. They like to go to the mosque, right? And community spaces. Just find your place, find your community, find where you belong. Everybody has a place like that. Where I belong is in the classroom with my students. I feel like I'm making a difference. It doesn't matter where they're from. I have students from Uganda, from Kenya, from Nigeria, from everywhere. I feel like I'm making a difference because this is what I'm doing. So So we can go for a walk, we can dance, stretch. I like to listen to music, right? So we do journaling, prayer, storytelling. So we do not have to heal alone. Connection is medicine. Just talking to a friend, talking to a family member can help you heal. Next slide. So when you need more support, I want to say tonight that help is not weakness. Looking for help is not a sign of weakness. It is strength. It is to recognize that something is wrong and I need to address it. Okay? So saying that, oh, wait, if I talk to someone, they're going to think that I am weak, that I can't do it, that I am not strong enough to be in this world. But no. Help is not weakness. It's knowing that something is wrong. It's acknowledging that something is wrong and moving forward by looking for help. Talk to someone, a counselor, a friend, a faith leader. Watch for deep sadness in people around you. Hopelessness or numbness. Those people, they don't cry, they don't laugh, they just exist. They just here. They don't participate. They don't allow themselves to leave, right? You deserve peace. You are not alone. So I'm pretty sure that if we open this panel and ask people to talk about, some kind of trauma they think that they have been going through, I'm pretty sure every single one of you, every single one of us will have something to say. Am I wrong? That's right. Next slide. So healing is resistance. Healing is not how we fight without losing ourselves. It honors those we lost and protect those we raise. So healing ourselves is our duty. So we don't pass on that trauma from one generation to the next. So healing yourself is your duty. You have to do. It's your responsibility. You have to work on it because it keeps culture alive and spirit strong. If they try to bury you, remember that you are a seed. So that means you will grow. So I have, next slide, please. So now I'm gonna invite you to do some breathing exercises with me, all right? So I need everybody to kind of bow their head, close your eyes, and you're gonna take a deep breath in. On the count of 3, we're gonna take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. Breathe in strength. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. And then breathe out the shame. Go ahead. Take a deep breath out. Now breathe in hope. And breathe out fear. Say it with me. I am not what happened to me. I am who I choose to become. Good job. Thank you so much for tonight. It was a pleasure talking to you and telling you about mental health.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sophia. And I like the fact that she talked about resilience is to allow that you need help. I am a testimony for that. Let me just give you a little story. When we had our first convention here in 2021, I came to Boston knowing that I had just been diagnosed with breast cancer. And I came to that convention. None of you here saw me dancing, even felt that I was sick. But I remember the last night they had Councilor O'Malley. He stood up. And I knew when I go back to Minnesota, I'm also going to go through surgery. I had a lumpectomy, and I had been told I needed to do 12 rounds of chemotherapy. So you imagine, all of you saw me. You were posting me. But I was scared. And where's my husband? Dr. John. Okay. Okay, so he and I understand what it is to go through trauma. And to make it worse, during my chemotherapy treatment, I lost my mama in Lunguja. And again, like she said, we knew, even our children, we knew we needed help. So for me, when I talk about trauma, mental health, I don't joke with it, it's real. Because I was sick, I couldn't travel, I had no hair. My husband had to shave my head. Imagine, and then you lose your mom. She died in the bathroom. There was no ambulance. When they told me she fell, my first thing was, oh, let's call an ambulance. And there was no ambulance, so she was pronounced dead when she arrived at Mengo Hospital. So please, don't suffer alone. That's my message to you all. Don't suffer alone. I went through, but I had to accept. And I had to go for therapy. And I think some of you see me on Facebook as lately because I've been telling my story. So in Minnesota, making strides against breast cancer, I am the face of that walk this year. But I want to thank the National Unity Platform. Every time I was low, being part of this movement made me feel good. I was working with Comrade Joel during the LA convention, but I would sit in those meetings every Sunday. That's what made me feel good. I forgot about my trauma. So please, my fellow Ugandans, don't suffer alone. Mental health is real. It's okay to be low. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be depressed. You know it's not an easy life that we're all living. So with that, now I want to hand over the next segment to Madame from abroad, that's what I say, from Australia, and Madame Mabel.
All right. To Boston, US. Nope. Boston Convention 2025.